The reason self-publishing gets a bad rap is not because self-publishing is less than. The reason self-publishing gets a bad rap is because people take advantage of how accessible it is and how easy it is and put up crappy books. All right, look, anybody can go online, create an account, and throw up a book. That does not mean that the book is good or that the quality is good. And this is what people have traditionally thought about when it comes to self-publishing, is that people have always thought self-publishing was less than. But that is not the case. Self-publishing can be indistinguishable from a professionally published book. If I look at my last book, if I look at the books our clients make, you would have no idea who the publisher is, but you sure as shit wouldn't think it's a crappy self-published book. And this is what I really, really want to share with you. And so I'm going to talk to you right now. I'm going to talk to you about 5 tips to self-published authors, for self-published authors, to avoid looking like an amateur. Look, when I see shitty books, okay, or when I see books that are designed terribly or that look like they were just thrown up, I get so frustrated because books are beautiful. Books are incredible. Books change lives. Books are magical. Books take you on an adventure. And when I see people just throw up a book and they're like, oh, I'm a published author, it's like, technically you are, but your book isn't going to help anybody. Your book isn't making the book world better. You are just someone who's posted a book. And look, all the power to you. You got a book out there in the world that you might be able to use it. But what I really want to help you do, if you're watching this right now, is I really want to help you understand how you can self-publish a book and look like a professional, not look like an amateur. And so there are 5 tips that I'm going to give here to help you avoid looking like an amateur. Now, I'll be honest, before I do that, I'll be honest with you, okay? My first book in 2016 doesn't look anything like the book that I just released for my 4th book called Big Idea to Bestseller. The growth that I've had as an author has been huge, and I think that it's important for us to recognize that. I also think that 2016 was a different time than it is today. And so I just want to share that, like, I've gone through it. I wasn't perfect at the beginning. And that's part of why I do what I do now, is so I can help people avoid those mistakes. I can help people avoid the like, oh, is this legit or is it not legit? I want people to look at your book and I want people to be like, damn, that is nice. That is legit, right? And it doesn't matter. Look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who publishes your book. What matters is that your book achieves your objective. Your book impacts lives. Your book is easily readable. Your book is a great experience for your readers. So now let me tell you the 5 things that will help you avoid looking like an amateur. Number 1 is get an editor. This is something that a lot of people want to cut costs on, or they want to hire somebody who they think is a good editor, but actually isn't a good editor. And a shitty edited book will actually hurt your credibility rather or more so than the credibility you gain by having a book. And when your book isn't edited and you have typos all over the place, people don't just be like, nah, I don't want to read this. People actually hold, in my opinion, they hold that against you and say, well, if you can't get everything dialed in and you can't make this professional, then how am I going to trust you to be the expert teaching me, right? And it's a sense of professionalism. And so a shitty edited book will ruin a reader's experience. It will change their perception of you. And also it won't achieve your goal. Look, if you're watching this, you probably are writing a nonfiction book. You're probably wanting to make an impact. You probably want to grow a business. That's what we specialize in helping people do. And so we know the power of a really, really great edited book. Now, the other thing with an editor, find a professional editor who has worked on books in your genre first. All right, make sure that they have experience. Make sure that it's not just someone who took 1 year of an English degree and then claims to be an editor. Like, find someone who loves the genre of books, someone who has experience, someone who you get a great vibe. And that's tip number 1, get a good editor. Number 2, unless you are a graphic designer, do not do your cover design yourself. All right. And even if you are a cover designer, personally, I'm in the belief, just outsource this. There are expert book cover designers, and there are things that go into a book cover that are deeper than just designing. Now, I'll also be honest. I've had friends and family members who are graphic designers, professionals, design my book cover. And I've seen the pros of that, and I've seen the cons of that. And ultimately, what I would say is that no matter who you ultimately end up choosing to use, make sure that your book cover is professionally designed, because people will judge a book by its cover. And if your cover sucks, I can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be very hard to sell a lot of copies. All right. No Canva templates. Don't just pull up a Canva template, change it up, and use that as your front cover. I see that all the time. That's an easy and obvious sign that you are trying to just do the quickest thing. It typically means that you're self-publishing, and it typically means that you're doing it just to do it. Okay. Again, all of these things that I'm sharing, I've either made the mistake myself or I've learned over time. And so I just want to ultimately cut your shortcut. I just want to help you get the best book in the shortest amount of time. So the other thing when it comes to a cover designer is if you use someone else or you try to do it yourself, you're going to be probably all right at the front cover. But when you actually upload your paperback cover and you have to have the right size, the right size for the spine, when you have the back cover, the front cover, there's a lot of specifications. All right. And I just want to let you know, here's your advance warning, that make sure you follow the specifications. Otherwise, it can cause delays in your book getting published, which sometimes can cause bigger issues. All right. Have a great cover designer. Number three is get a book formatter. This is someone who will design the interior of your book. And the reason that I think that this is one of those things that will really help separate you from looking like an amateur versus being a professional is that when your book is not formatted, what happens is spacing is off, font type, font size looks off, and you're like, what am I reading here? You know, I've seen some really high level people have some books that aren't formatted well, and personally, it turns me off. It turns me off. Now, are they probably still achieving certain parts of their goals? Yeah, but I believe that if you can, to hire a book formatter and have somebody do the interior. All right. This makes it looks good. There's no weird spacing. It makes it in alignment. It makes everything in sync. It's a representation of your brand. Like, go big. Like, you're doing a book. For some people, this is a once in a lifetime. For some people, this is a bucket list item. Like, do it the best that you can. All right. Don't cut the corners, but instead use this video right now as a shortcut to help you avoid looking like an amateur. Number 4 is have your own ISBN and publishing imprint. Now, I'm not going to go so deep into this. If you want to learn more about ISBNs, you can check out some of our other videos, or you can go online and type in how to get an ISBN. But essentially, an ISBN is the number that identifies your book. So for example, there's a number here and that identifies my book. All right. And so when you have this, you can get a free one that's assigned to you by Amazon, by KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, or you can invest. I think it's about $125 if you buy one, or $250 if you buy 10 from an online site. And here in the US, those are the prices. I believe in Canada, I have some friends and they mentioned it's free, but you can buy these ISBNs, and that is huge. Okay. Personally, I would encourage that because that will help with your marketability as well as your potential distribution to own your own ISBN, to have your own ISBN. And the second thing is your publishing imprint. So back in the day, if you just had Amazon, which used to be CreateSpace, now it's Kindle Direct Publishing, published a book for you, it would just say independently published. That was an easy sign to tell that you were an amateur. But if you have your own ISBN and you have your own publishing imprint, which is basically on the sales page on Amazon of who it says published by, that helps you separate yourself. Okay. Now, there are various different ways that you can go about doing this, but ultimately, I would encourage you to have your own ISBN if possible and your own publishing imprint if possible. And that publishing imprint can be your business, a business you create, or a publisher who publishes your book, their imprint. All right. And I'll keep it real with you. I've asked a lot of people about this. Most people have never, ever looked at an Amazon sales page or bought a book and been like, you know what? This publisher? No, Absolutely not. I'm not reading a book from this publisher. Most people, even more than that, have no idea who the publisher ever is, or they have no idea what a publisher, who a publisher is, or what that matters, or why it matters. Okay. And that's the thing you got to understand, is that your audience, they don't care necessarily, but you do want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for professionalism, which is why I encourage you to use your own publishing imprint, or if you have somebody publishing your book, whether it be a company like ours or whether it be a traditional publishing house, that you have a publishing imprint. All right. This just adds more legitimacy. But overall, I have asked so many people that question, and most readers have never chosen to read a book because of the publisher. And most people don't even know who publishers really are. And so unless you're in the book space, it doesn't matter if you're self-published or traditionally published. What matters, though, is that you look professional and have that ISBN and that publishing imprint. Number 5, let's rock and roll here. And this is the final tip that I want to give you, is that I see this all of the time. All right. And this is the tip to avoid, is make sure that on Amazon, once your book is live, that you have your bio, your name, your headshot at the bottom of the page, so that people can know more about you and can see you and can understand that you're a real person who wrote a book and invested time, energy, and money into this thing. And it'll help increase your sales, but it'll also help people know who you are. So when they start seeing you on your podcast, or when they start seeing you around, or they hear your name again, they're like, oh, that's the person who wrote XYZ book. All right. And the way that you can do this is by making sure that you have an Amazon Author Central account. All right. Because the easiest way to tell if you're an amateur is if I go to your sales page, and at the bottom it has your name, but there's no headshot. It's like that insert photo here type of headshot, and there's no bio. And it's a huge missed opportunity. Does it mean your book can't be successful? No. But I would highly encourage that to have a completely professional page is to make sure that you have that. Another thing to really make sure that you do on your Amazon page is make sure your book description looks good. All right, sometimes the formatting can get tricky, but just go in there and double check and reach out to support, hire help, but just make sure that your book description looks good. So those are really 5 tips for self-publishing to really help you avoid looking like an amateur. Look, I want you to have the best book possible. I know how much time you're putting into this. I know how much money you're putting into this, how much effort you're putting into this. And I really want you to be able to create the best book possible, to achieve all your business goals, to make the biggest impact on people. And I don't want you to miss out on opportunities because you make one of these mistakes and look like an amateur. And so if you really want to take this to the next level, all right, if you really want to take this to the next level, re-listen to this. Watch some of our other videos and really understand that you can do this. You can write a book, you can self-publish a book, you can look like a professional, and you can do a lot of amazing things with a book. And so I encourage you to stop playing like an amateur and start living like a professional. You got this. Let's go.